Oh, I love you too. She's just the sweetest. You are. You're so sweet. We love you. Oh, baby girl. Good morning. I am out running errands. I went to the doctor to get, I take these, it's like these vitamin shots that help speed up weight loss. It's mostly different kinds of vitamin B, but I checked the mail at my mailbox because it's nowhere near where I live. I voted, so that's fun. Got my little sticker here. Brad and I both filled out our ballots and I just dropped them off, so that counts. I am about 100 pages into Beneath the Tamarind Tree, and I don't know if I should say I'm enjoying it because it's a very heavy, kind of dark book, but I think it's a good book. But it is depressing. It's hard to read because there's some guilt there for me about just being this spoiled American who doesn't have to, I don't even want to say deal with a lot of these things, but I don't have to even know about these things. I don't even know they're happening as an American. Our media is set up in a way that really just concentrates on what's going on here for the most part and scaring us about our own lives. It doesn't really concentrate on letting us know what other people are going through. And until I had heard about this book, I didn't even know what Boko Haram was. I've been trying the last couple of years to be very intentional about where I get my news from. I don't watch any news networks on cable TV anymore because I feel like they all have their certain rhetorics they're supposed to follow. They're all very political and they really focus on scaring people. And I just want to know what's going on. I don't really want to know the political beliefs behind the news broadcaster telling me what happened. Just tell me what happened. I've had these experiences, and I'm sure you have too, where maybe I watch too much news and too much news that's scary, and I get kind of like a heavy heart and I feel sad and I feel like I just would rather not know what's going on in the world than experience this kind of feeling every day. That's kind of how the book makes me feel, except this is something that I need to just go through because it's something I need to know. It's something I need to be educated about. I think it's very important to know what's going on in the world around us and to know what's going on in countries that we're not in, because I do believe that we all affect each other, and I do think it's important to be informed, and I do want to know what happened and what these girls went through. So the way the book is written, it starts out with the author talking about the day that they've all come home. And she's there in a hotel, and then she starts talking about where her and her family come from and her upbringing, and she talks about 4 different girls and their stories. And then we start with the night they were all kidnapped. And it's very intense. I'm still in the middle of, it's no longer that night, it's the next day, but it's still like very high. It's like reading an action-packed movie or something. It's very edge of my seat, intense stuff going on, and imagining what kind of fear they would have felt and what kind of fear their families would have felt. I almost feel like the fear that the girls have and their families have while all this is going on seems kind of on the low end for me. Maybe they're just used to these kinds of things happening. I think for me it would be a little bit more dramatic.
Did you know? Pay with Experian. Wait, that doesn't help your credit. It can now with Experian Boost. It worked. Boost your credit scores instantly. Free with Experian. Download the Experian app now.
A thin painted line. The only thing between you and a life-changing accident. But are these lines enough?
Okay, I just wanted to check in. I'm about to go to bed. Sorry, it's so shaky. I'm holding this with my hand. But I wanted to tell you, let's see, I'm on chapter 14 now, and the book is still really good. It's hard to put down. It's very interesting and intriguing. It's interesting reading this book and thinking about the media and how some journalists go overseas to other countries and put themselves in harm's way to get a story told. Those people are very admirable to me, you know, that they want so much to tell the truth. Of course, the problem is this journalist that wrote this book was being told that what she is spreading is not the truth. And when she got to Nigeria the first time, she was told by many people in the rich community at a party that they don't even believe these girls had been abducted, that they think that it was all just a ploy to make Nigeria look bad. And part of why Boko Haram abducted these girls was not just because they wanted them to stop getting an education, but it was also because they were Christian. And so while I'm reading about what's happening to these girls in this camp or on the way to the camp, now they just got to the camp now in the book, but they keep being told that they need to convert to being Muslim, and they're refusing to do so. Some girls are saying that they will convert, but a lot of them are saying that they won't. And that's pretty fascinating. Once again, I'm wondering, gosh, if I was in those shoes, what would I do? I mean, I like to think that I would stand true to my beliefs, but it's definitely pause for thought. Good morning. I just got out of the shower, as you can tell. Made some breakfast. We had sausage and eggs, and I've had some coffee. When I took my shower, I kept thinking about how I've never gone without running water or electricity. The only time I went without either was when I was camping or something, and I just feel so spoiled, but also blessed to have always had those things. It's so easy to take them for granted. It's nice to just be able to take a shower whenever I want, and I can have a warm or a hot or even a cold shower, but it's my decision, and it's just nice to be able to have those kind of luxuries. And I wish that everybody had those luxuries. But as much as I feel like I'm kind of a spoiled brat for having these luxuries, I feel like it would behoove me to appreciate them, right? And to feel blessed because I do have all these wonderful things right at my disposal. Like, to me, living in America, I feel like there's so much I don't have. And this book is a nice reminder that I am kind of rich, really. I mean, to people in most other countries, I would be considered rich with the luxuries that I have and the things that I have. And here we place so much emphasis on always wanting and needing more clothes, a bigger house, a nicer, newer car. And I just don't feel like I want to subscribe to that anymore. I mean, I really haven't for quite some time. I was talking on my main channel about how I don't want a big wardrobe anymore. I just want what I need. I don't want to buy a bunch of stuff anymore. I just want to keep what I need or what I'm going to use and get rid of everything else and stop buying and accumulating so much. So this book is kind of interesting timing for me with these thoughts coming into my mind so much lately. I also just want to mention how beautiful this book is. I love this cream and ecru color, and I love the beautiful blue foily writing on the side. I think it's so pretty. I mean, I love the cover, but I almost kind of like it naked because it's just so pretty. I am on page 272. When the girls got released from the hell that they were in, I thought this book would probably really start slowing down, but for me it really hasn't. Isha, the author of this book, who's a journalist, I think I've mentioned that before, but she is a journalist at CNN, and she wanted to go back and interview these girls and get pictures with them and make sure that the world could find out through CNN what had happened. Because so many people still didn't know. I didn't know. And it was 2016, and she had to go through a lot to get in there to meet these girls and to get pictures of them and everything. And when she finally did and she got back out, she got back to her hotel room, and she was expecting a bunch of messages and calls of people wanting to talk to her about what she had learned, because she was the only one that got to take pictures with them and talk to them. And there were no messages. There was no text messages, no emails, no calls. No one had any interest. And when she called into CNN headquarters to find out what was going on, they told her, well, the 2016 elections are going on, and we are really just interested in talking about the American elections. And so the story fell flat, and she really didn't get to do as much as she was hoping to do with it, which I find so sad. I remember during that election, no matter what station I would put on, no matter what news source I looked at, that's all anyone was talking about. And I do remember thinking, I would love to know what's going on in other areas of the world, but nobody was talking about anything but the elections. It's crazy that we live in an area that claims freedom of speech and freedom of press and freedom of religion and all these things, and yet we really only have what is shown us to be exposed to. And there are people like myself, and probably you if you're still watching this video, who are interested in international news and really don't have the ability to find it. I've since figured out how to find it, but if you just go on American cable networks and watch the news, you're still not going to hear much, if anything. And if you do, it'll be just a sentence or two mentioned about what might be going on somewhere. It's just not news the way I feel that it should be. There are a few letters from some of the girls' mothers to the girls while they were still being held, and while they were still in the camps, and I found those letters to be very touching and very moving. I just finished Beneath the Tamarind Tree last night. I was in bed though, so I decided to just film my reaction now. I think if you are a religious person, or if you consider yourself to be a religious person, you would probably find this book very inspiring, as far as the faith that these girls had all the way through what they went through and after the fact. If I'm honest, I've never felt that kind of faith before. And I wish that I have or did, but I've just never felt like that. The truth is, when I've gone through really horrifying things, I question things a lot more. But I think it's beautiful that they have that experience. And I thought the book was really good. I also think if you're interested in knowing about Boko Haram and about the abductions that occurred, I think that you should read it. If you're interested in getting more world knowledge, I think you should read it. It was also a really interesting view on a different culture than I experience. And that's why I chose this book as my border book was, one, the girls are crossing over into a different area than where they live, but two, me mentally reading the book, I'm crossing borders. While it was interesting, there was a lot of information about the author and her life, but I wanted to know more about the girls and what happened to them. And I do appreciate the amount of research that she has had to have done to write this book. But it just felt like it was equally about her, and I really wanted to know more about the girls. I give this book 3 stars. I'm not saying I didn't like it. There was too much that I felt was missing, and then too much about the author and her life. It could have been 2 separate books where a journalist is writing a book about her life and her experiences going through these things, and then another book about the girls and what happened to them. It also felt a little bit like so there was 4 girls that were the protagonists, I guess you would say, the 4 girls that the book was concentrating on. There was a 5th girl that there was so much mention of. She might have almost been one of the 4. And one of the 4 girls, I felt like there was very little mention of, so it was kind of confusing in that way. I felt like there wasn't maybe enough information or time spent on all 4 of the girls. It definitely didn't feel like it was equal information. But I do think it's worth reading. I do think it was a really good book. It was very depressing though, so be prepared if you're going to read it that it might be really sad for you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day or night. Let me know if you've read this book or if you're interested in reading this book. Happy reading. Bye.